recording is on. Okay, well, thank you for being here, guys. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in chat or unmute yourself. The more conversation around this, the better. Today, we're going to tackle 3 big topics quickly. And if you guys want, I'll even do deeper dive on any of this for you. I put together kind of the best practices of really functioning virtually when it comes to the buy side, from a buyer consultation all the way to showings. And Lou actually has done some showings and has gone as far as doing quite a few Matterports. So he's going to share that element of it because I really don't have that knowledge base. So any of you that have, please speak up and share your things. Now, a couple things before we dive in, and I'm going to have Lou introduce himself in a second. I want to share with you a couple marketing pieces that I had made for us, and I'm going to email them out to everybody. They're PowerPoint, so each of you should be able to download this and change your photo and change whatever element of this you don't like. But the 2 topics I had Michael Lewis make for us is, 1, we are here for you, and it's answering most pressing questions around real estate, because right now it's really important that you let people know that you're open for business and that real estate is still transacting. So like questions like, can I buy a home? How do I look at homes? Now all of this is malleable because it's a PowerPoint, so if you don't like something you could change it, and yet at the same time, if all you change is your picture and logo at the bottom, that's great. So I'll make sure I email that to everyone. Oops. Scott Hood, my chat window is showing up in the middle of my screen. Okay, how do you get it off? Good question. X out of, there should be an X at the top, or hover on the right-hand corner. I think you can X out. So just know that I'm just looking.
You can also grab the top of the bar and drag it out of the screen.
Ah, good to know. See, I learned something today. Try that, Scott. We'll get back to you if you didn't. The other things so I'm going to get you that communication piece, because there's another fun one that they did where it's like supporting local restaurants. Now the problem is they made this like the week that they shut the restaurants down. And yet, what about 3 weeks from now when some of these businesses are opening? You could think of the businesses, and I'm hoping I'm sharing the right screen. Can you guys see we are in this together? Okay, I'm hoping you can choose some restaurants or some small businesses that you cherish and think about people in your database. So another thing that you can do. So I'm getting some tools out for you because I want to make sure you're equipped with what you need in order to get back into business if things have slowed down like they have for most of us. So you'll be getting that from me. Other things I want to share real quick is, I just got to get back onto my Googling machine here. You guys should all have, let me screen share. Okay, you should all have, give me 1 second here, the shift book. I've put it out there like 3 or 4 times. If you still don't have it, I can put it out there again. Maybe I'll add it to the email I send the 2 PowerPoints. But there's specific pages we're going to reference today. So if you have your book, you might want to pull it out. But one of the things I'm going to teach you to share while you're doing a buyer consultation is page 180. 189. It has this visual, and frankly, you can also download the visual, which I'll email with the publisher, which shows for a buyer, because this is our focus today is buyers, specifically what would happen to them if they wait. Because everyone's in a wait mode, you guys. Everyone's like overwhelmed, not sure what's going on, worried about their jobs, worried about a lot of things. And yet, what happens if they wait? And it's a great scenario because it talks about how even if prices go down, which is likely to happen because of the market correction after this, rates will go up. And it gives you 2 scenarios to show people of how their buying power decreases. So if I'm a buyer of yours in the pipeline, I'm kind of nervous, and I'm kind of a $200,000 buyer. Truly, if homes decrease by 5%, but rates go up by 0.5%, my buying power has been reduced to 190. And if it's even more of an increase, by 180. And if you look at the monthly payment, it's all the same. So those are some of the the collateral I want to give you and make sure you know you have, so that you're not missing out on opportunities. Another thing is Keller Williams is actually collaborating with Facebook right now for virtual home tour training and services. So that is not ready to go yet, but just know Gary Keller knows that this is a forever change in a lot of ways, and he's partnering with Facebook to make sure it's the easiest possible move for us with the relationship we have. And you're going to be able to see that training if you go to kwconnect.com. Now, it's not up yet. I'll make sure you know, but many of you don't even know about kwconnect.com. If you go, they have a calendar of different topics that they're training every day that you guys can go on anytime by just going kwconnect.com. And during the time that they are on, they just show up right here on the screen. These times are in Central Daylight Time, so add an hour. Now, ironically, Tips for Working with Virtual Buyers just started streaming because they covered that yesterday. So if you don't like what Lou and I say today, you can always go watch this one, and it's pretty good. So just wanted to remind you of those things before we dive in. Any questions on any of that? And I will send that in one universal email to everybody. Now, if you're a guest of ours and you're not with my office, just chat your email address and I will make sure you get it as well. Perfect. Okay, so without further ado, I want to introduce Lou. Lou is my partner in crime today. He's my cohort. Lou, share a little bit about you and your business, and also Matterport.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot. I probably sell 30 homes a year, nothing crazy, but that's usually for around 10 million bucks or 12 million bucks. So that's not horrible.
Not at all.
But yeah, so for me, things have changed a lot. You know, I'm probably not as freaked out, I guess, as everybody else, but I still wear a mask. I still wear gloves. I still have sanitizer, really mostly for them, not so much for me. You know, there's a lot of people who are really, really freaked out about all this. And I understand it. I totally get it. But
yeah, you got to be empathetic to everybody because everyone feels the way they do. And if you don't, you will be socially shamed.
Yep. So and I just, you know, I don't know who's been in the house last because I'm still showing homes virtually. So I don't know who's been in there last. So I have, I literally have a toolbox that I take with me. I've got a system down. I mean, the first couple times it was pretty awkward, but I have a system down where I put one glove on my right hand. I leave my left hand ungloved, and that's to make sure that I don't touch anything with my left hand. So my left hand holds my phone, and the right hand opens the door, flips all the switches, and that's the gloved hand. So
very smart.
It works for me. So I don't know if you want me to go into the whole toolbox thing.
We'll hold off on showings for that because here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a few minutes on best practices of a buyer consult and some ideas for you to take advantage of. Then we're gonna jump into showings and then we're gonna jump into Matterport. So here's what I want to. I did tell you about the shift book. I did tell you about KW Connect. The other thing to know is that most things haven't changed. It's just done like this. So one of the challenges of getting in front of someone from a buyer consultation approach is getting them to come to the office, right? Some of you kind of wing it and kind of do a half-hearted over the phone buyer consult and then go show property because you can't get them to come into the office. And yet those of you that get people to come into the office typically have a much more thorough knowledge base of what someone wants. And you also have a more of a business relationship, not just a lead that you're trying to hope to win over. And so one thing I want to remind you of, this is a huge opportunity right now for you to really actually get better buyer relationships going. So couple points that I just want to share with you, and get your pencils ready. When it comes to getting these set up, a couple things I want to remind you of is you want, just like I kind of role played with you guys when you got on, anytime you're doing this the first time, a buyer consultation or even just chatting with someone or a listing presentation, if they've never done it before, you want to know that. So you call them and say, hey, Lou, have you ever done a Zoom before? No, I haven't. Great. Can you get on 5 minutes early so that we can work through to get your tech working? And that's where you're going to have to coach them, like, okay, now go to the bottom left screen. So that means you guys need to start using this so that you can get that good at it, that you'd actually do that. So we will definitely put some more Zoom training on for you guys so you know know that. So you definitely want to set the expectation that you're going to do this. Now, from a showing standpoint, and Lou will go into what he's done, you may want to ask them what platform they are comfortable with. Because if I'm really good at FaceTiming and I do that with my grandkids, Lou might want to do it that way. Or if I'm like, oh, I like Zooming, you know, Lou might Zoom, you know, so just know that you want to ask them what they're comfortable with and maybe pivot to what they're comfortable with so you have less of a challenge. So
you're going to have to pivot, Jess, because FaceTime is literally only iPhones. So you're going to have to know other options.
And if you have an Android, there is now an option. So if you haven't realized that, if you go and try to call someone, you now have video, so you can do that. But you know what? That just happened. So a lot of people don't know how to use it. So exactly, you're gonna have to pivot. So you wanna start a little early. Now, some people really struggle with getting on the tech. So just know you've gotta be patient and upbeat. And then when they get through it the first time, you wanna celebrate. Like, you are officially a Zoomer, way to go. Because, you know, everyone's learning and growing together. So you wanna make it fun. Now, I've got some appointment setting scripts I can share with you. However, they're from ISAs. I'm assuming you guys have an appointment. However, they had some really clever ways of making sure that they were going to show up for the Zoom. Because one thing you'll note is if you don't set up a specific Zoom meeting with someone and have a scheduled time, you know, the no-show rate's really high if it's a cold call. So I'm assuming you guys have a warmish lead, you're going to do a buyer consult. It's the same consultation, except now you can show your screen. So things that you may want to include are showing your website and how they can search everything from there. You could even show, and I'm just going to jump in, I could go right onto my command or my website right from here. And I'm just gonna jump on and role play. Are you guys seeing my screens open? Okay, good. So I could have you right here, Lou, add you as a contact and show you a listing alert that I set up and a save search I set up. Then I could pivot right to my website and say, I know you really want Danita, and I want you to know when you use my site, you can see everything just like you can Zillow. And if they really are reluctant to stop using Zillow or something else, you can even go screen by screen and show them how your search is almost identical, but that if they start saving properties in under their profile, you're able to track with them better. So talk about getting people to get more engaged with what you are looking, you want them on your website, right? So, you can show them virtually the same experience. And that the only difference is if they log in and set up their account, everything they save and favorite, you're going to see on your side, and then they can see it on their side, so you guys can work better together. So just think of this. Instead of kind of doing your best bet to get someone to actually show up at the office and do the full buyer consult and set expectations and talk about the process and get them pre-qualified and doing all of that, you can now do it right here. You can even go as far as to show them for mortgage, Keller Mortgage. So we could go right here, and let's just say I'm doing this in real time with Lou. I'm going to say, Lou, you're going to definitely want to reach out to your own favorite lenders, but I'm going to help you right now get connected with mine, who will be able to save you closing costs and give you an extra $1,000 of credit if you want to work with them. I'm going to refer you on the spot while we're talking, so it's just done. I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm just going to do it because we know that that's a huge Benny for them, right? And Lou, you've done quite a few. So just think of what you do today, but trump it. Like, show them your website, send them your mobile app while you're talking, connect them with Keller Mortgage or whatever lender you want. You can do that in an assumptive way. And you can even say, with things changing like they are, any seller is going to want to know that, number one, you're qualified to purchase the property, so we've got to get this done. Second of all, they're going to want to know that you're committed. And one of the ways that you show commitment is to sign buyer agency with me. And so we're going to do that right now. And you could do the contract live if that's something that you're willing to do. So there's a lot of ways that this like maximizes that consultation so much better than most of us have kind of been winging it. Any questions or thoughts?
Well, I think this has been coming all along, but a lot of people have been hesitant to do it, buyers, sellers, and agents. And now people are almost forced into it, and it's just how things are. You
Well,
know,
and it's like a new standard for being an actual buyer. In COVID, you've got to meet the profile. You've got to done your due diligence, because you got to be ready to write an offer, right?
well, and Jess, I didn't know much about Zoom, quite honestly, until the employee thing last week, Friday or something. So and I'm a pretty techie guy. I used to own a database company. I am not afraid of technology at all. But I didn't know too much about Zoom. But now, just playing around with it for 10 minutes, I would rather use Zoom than meet people in person, because of what's available to you and what's so easy for people to use. What you're not, what most people don't know, if you're looking at my image right now, that is not my house. So what's behind me, that's not my house. That's an image I took from a Matterport of a condo I have for sale.
And
And
this is
Jess
not
just
my
changed
boat.
her, so you could literally put these images behind you and go, is this what you mean by a big backyard? Is this the type of kitchen you're looking for? And so it's super powerful. And instead of them just saying, oh, an open floor plan or a big master or a nice pool, you can literally go, oh, do you mean this? And bring up those shots. It's super powerful.
Well, and you can pull a search and actually go listing by listing and say, these are the ones right now that kind of show up on your radar. Let's quick cruise through them. What would make your top 5 list that you want me to go look at for you, or that we could do a virtual showing for? So am I sharing properly? Can you see my screen?
Yeah. And that's
Okay.
a perfect segue.
Yeah, because that's really a buyer consult. You want to continue to do them, but I think you have an opportunity to do them better. And for those of you that want to get the commitment from a buyer for agency, you can even just do that right on the spot. You're going to need to practice though. So find a buddy on the screen right now and say, okay, let's practice one of these bad boys. Let's practice me getting you to sign a buyer agency, because you guys got to get the flow going. And until you do it, it doesn't work. So I'm learning constantly, because I am trial by fire, because I'm doing this like on the spot. I'm not like a whiz bang genius yet. I guess Zoom apparently has some training. So you can go to Zoom. They've got lots of video trainings. For those of you that take the time to do it, you probably teach me a few things. And yet what I've done is kind of fumbled and stumbled through. I wouldn't want to do that on my first appointment though, would you? No, especially with a listing. So, so when it comes to buyers, just keep in mind that, you have the opportunity now to show properties online, line them up with your lender. And then for agents that are new, if you're really new and you're not really confident in even a buyer consultation or listing, reach out to one of our top agents, and I'm certain they would help you co-list it or work the deal with you to help you through your first one if you've never done this. If you're a brand new agent, only sold a house or two, you may want to do that. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you need help in making a connection, just reach out to me and I'll connect you with a great agent that'll help you. Because again, we're all learning together. Now in the good news department, none of us are good at it yet either. So, we're learning, and yet people give you a lot of grace. So just consider this your opportunity. And moving forward, will you do this all the time? Maybe, this might become 80% of interaction versus, 20%, after this. I don't think it's going to go back to, face-to-face 95% of the time. I think it's going to become more this. So just, you want to get good at this because it's going to be expected of you. So in terms of the consultation, do we have any specific questions? Because it really is the same questions you're going to want to ask. It's the same needs analysis. It's the same kind of understanding their urgency. It's the same, want to get them pre-qualified. What I'm working on getting together for you now from Michael Lewis is a visual aid of a virtual transaction. Like, how does it go? Like what's new, what's different about it. And so I'm hoping that by next week they have that for you. And if anyone makes anything up, share it with us. But I think that would be the only thing I would add is like, okay, this is how it's going to go. And this is how it's different. And what I would say is that that's a great segue to the virtual showing. Lou, if we don't have any specific questions, is if I was going to work with you, Lou, as a buyer, during the consultation time or getting to know you time where you're getting an idea of what I want, how are you explaining what you do for me or how it goes? Do you go into that or do you just say, we'll just do these showings virtually?
Well, I still have shown some people, but yes, I will ask them what they prefer and if they're okay with it. I mean, one of the most important things really that I think that people skip that step is, are you going to buy a house if we're showing it to you virtually? Otherwise, what are you doing? You know,
Let's
are
wait.
you comfortable buying that house? I mean, it's great. Listen, right now we have nothing to do. Hell, I'll get out of the house and go look at some homes. That's fine. But, you know, what are we doing? And that is literally one of the questions. I'll just, you know, some people cringe when, and you included, Jess, when you hear what I say sometimes to people, but it's not being bold, but I will literally say, hey, are you ready to make a purchase? And really what the term I word is, are you ready to stroke a check? And if they're not, it's fine to build rapport and you'll be their guy down the road and all that. But you got to know who you're dealing with. And that'd be if they came into the office too. You know, if they said, oh no, we just want to go shopping. I mean, that is not somebody you're going to bring into homes.
Well, and I think if we have a visual aid of the transaction, say, you know, if you're still in the looking mode, you know, once we get a better feel for specifically what you want, so today we're going to look at some properties online together and you can give me a good idea. I'll know when I need to reach out to you about a property that you won't want to miss, because we'll know together what you're really looking for. And if you commit to continuing to look online through my website and saving the ones you like and disliking the ones you don't like, I'll even be more aware. And you have to make the promise to call me if you change your mind. You know, I can bird dog for you all week, all night long until you're ready. And yet whatever's better for you is good for me, you know, and you've got to make sure they know that. But yeah, that's definitely a great way to test urgency. Okay. So let's, I don't see any specifics about asking about the buyer consult. So if there's nothing more, raise your hand or speak up if you want to. Let's pivot into the actual showing. So paint me a picture of this process that you go through.
So for me right now, and you brought up a great point, I was using FaceTime mostly, which is fine. It does get a little cumbersome, but you know, you're fine. So you're literally using your phone and bare hand for my phone, and then I'll have a glove on my other hand. But before I even do that, when I get to the door, I literally have a toolbox, and the only thing in the toolbox is gold.
That is the new gold, right? Hand sanitizer,
right? So
and Lysol wipes.
No, for real. Literally, I will go to the front door and spray the lockbox and the front door handle with Lysol. Or if you don't have that, because this stuff's all gold, Clorox wipes. And you can steal these from the house you're in. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Oh my God, do not do that.
But so literally, I'm starting right at the lockbox because I don't know who's been in that house, right? And then hand sanitizer, mask. I have a little baby hand sanitizer as well. So what I'm doing is I'm literally spraying the lockbox with a gloved hand, open it with the gloved hand, unlocking the door with the gloved hand, opening the door. I leave the key in there. I know some of you, safety reasons, you don't have to take the key out, set it inside, lock the door behind you. And then all the light switches, everything is that gloved hand. My bare hand is only touching my phone. And so Jess brought up a great point. And if they don't have an iPhone, guess what? You don't have FaceTime. So I have 2 clients right now that we just got under contract today. Thank you very much. I virtually showed them 4 homes. They put in 3 offers. So that's pretty motivated buyer.
Right.
And so what I did with them is they had Facebook And if you go into Facebook Messenger, there is a live video chat in there. So I would get to the house, I'd get inside the house, I'd say, okay, I'd call them up and I go, okay, now call me on your Facebook Messenger. And it's the same. So you're FaceTiming it the whole way. And that worked. And they put in an offer and it got accepted. I mean, the house has only been on the market a day. We were, now I'm going to admit I was a little bit of a Pop-Tart yesterday, but times are changing. So, and I like Pop-Tarts. So, I mean,
it's amazing. If someone wants to go look, it's amazing how many agents will refuse to show properties right now. And, that's their personal choice. Yet there's a lot of people picking up buyers that are kind of alienated. And, there's true. So Sarah Taylor gave a good point too. There's Google Duo app. So that's kind of like a FaceTime knockoff for people that are Android based. And the only challenge you have is if one's iPhone and the other's Android. So
that's where Facebook works, Jess.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's where Facebook works. So there's really a solution for everybody. But would you not want to ask that question early on? And what if you have a husband with an iPhone and a wife with an Android? Probably wouldn't happen, but it could. And so then you're like, ooh, now what are we gonna do? So you've got to know this beforehand. These are questions you want to ask before you start setting up showings. Erica Lee asked a great question. Are there any legalities about taking people to homes now?
Well, you have to still follow the CDC guidelines, 6 feet and all that business. I mean, it's not
you've got to have a listing that will allow it. So there's some really great guidelines that Stellar put together. I'll make sure you get those in this giant email that I'm going to send with all this other stuff that just goes through this, because here's what I would say. One thing I hope you guys hear from me over and over today is that you need to communicate how this process goes with your pipeline and with everyone in your database, because there's a lot of people afraid right now. They're kind of caught up in fear because this is new to them. They don't know what to expect. So if you kind of just tell people what to expect, you're going to release that or limit the anxiety that they feel. And they might refer you to someone like, you know what? I know someone that really wants to go see some property. So I'm going to challenge you guys. That's going to be my action item, is to communicate to your database that you can do this and you're open for business. So the two marketing pieces I had made for you from Michael Lewis, one is specifically, yes, I am still open for business and this is kind of how it looks. I'd go as far as creating a video, kind of like how Lou's featuring, like, this is the process. This is what I do today. I have these gloves, I have this mask. This is how it's going to go. Because if you tell me that, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, well, we can look at property. Great. I'd love to. I would love to see some property. I really want to move forward. And so just know, if you're not doing that, you're not helping yourself at all right now, because people's anxiety is high because this is all new to them. So keep that in mind. Okay, keep going. So you're in the house, you're showing property.
Well, so then we go through the property. I'll do the FaceTime with them. And I will point out things that I don't particularly like, to be honest with you. And listen, you're building up trust. They're trusting you to go through the house. So don't just go, oh yeah, this is beautiful granite. And then you look and, one of the cabinet doors has fallen off. Oh, but over here. I mean, I'm literally going, listen, there's some cracks in the baseboards. There's some dirt in the corners. There's, I'm pointing that stuff out because you don't want that. I mean, that's the worst feeling in the world. And really, even right now, they can't even get down to do their final walkthrough, which before we were going, man, I'm not touching that. Now, we kind of have to find a way to do the final walkthrough. So for some cases in the final walkthrough, I'm able to do my own Matterports. So I'll literally do a Matterport. Or if they're looking at a house and it's been on the market a little while, because it does take a good probably 24 hours to get the Matterport online. Like yesterday, this home was going to sell fast. There was going to be multiple offers. We got to do what we got to do. But if there's been a home that's online and the wife wants to see it or the husband wants to see it, I'll just send them a Matterport and allows them to walk through. There's one more thing. When I'm done with the showing, this is huge. And actually showing homes is what taught me this. I bring a Ziploc bag. I'm sure some of you have heard about this and all that stuff, where people are going into Publix with their gloves on and they're just ripping their gloves off and throwing them in the parking lot. So when I leave the house, when I'm done showing it, I will turn my glove inside out and I'll have the bag already open and then I'll put so this is my garbage bag. And
Smart.
then I reseal it. So now I don't have to worry about this glove that just touched everything in their brother inside this house is now laying in my car and so it's Ziplocked and it's done and it's perfect. So that's
It's very
huge.
slick. Okay, so talk to me about when you walk through the property. You're not selling the house. You're not talking about what you all love. You're just showing the house in detail. Like, okay, there's a crack in the granite here. Wow, great view. The room's about 12 by 13. You're talking through so they can imagine. Is there anything unique that you do otherwise?
Well, so I don't say the room's about 12 by 13. I have a laser room measurer, of course. I have every gadget known to man. So they go, well,
and you can also pull the MLS sheet in. According to the MLS, it's 12 by 13.
Yeah, but a lot of agents will only put kitchen, living room, master.
Sure.
So, and yeah,
how long do these showings, like if you're doing a really thorough showing, because I might write an offer on this property. It's not just a Pop-Tart quick, let me see what this looks like. I might write an offer on this house today and you know it. How long is it taking you to do the showing?
Probably 30 minutes because, and you guys need to practice this, really, because it's not just, you've got to remember they're not with you, right? So you have to get their bearings a lot. So it's probably about a 30-minute showing time. When you walk in that front door, you're saying, okay, my back is to the front door right now. And you slowly turn your camera. You guys have to figure out how to slow down. Remember, they're not watching you. So when you're zipping around with your camera, they're throwing up because they're getting motion sick.
Yeah.
So you have to go slow. You have to get their bearings all the time. Here's the front door behind me. My back's to the front door. What we're looking at now, the kitchen is straight ahead. The master's off to the left. And the formal living and formal dining is off to my right. And then you just make that pan so they get it.
Well, and that's where 3D Matterports and where 3D floor plans and floor plans in general are going to become huge. More of a big deal. They're going to become a norm. And I know Home Depot will do a full house floor plan for $99, but you could just do a Matterport and then people can actually visual. And we'll get into Matterport in a little bit. And that answers Daniel's question. Other tools that you're using or should be using, definitely having a floor plan as you're listing makes it much more sellable. Kristen asked a great question, like, what about liability with all this? And what if someone says, hey, you didn't show me that? Now, I want to address that because the truth is we're going to be seeing people view and close on homes they've never been in more and more and more. It's going to become more of a thing, and it does exist already. You want to write in the contingencies you need so that if something changes, you have an out, obviously, and you want every inspection in the universe that's possible because, again, you're not an inspector, nor do you want to ever get in that lane at all. And yet there are some agents that will record their showing by using Zoom. So they'll bring a tablet as another option instead of using their phone. Now you can Zoom and record on a phone as well with Zoom. I'm recording this now, and then you'd have that as proof that you walked through the rooms and that you did your thing, but yet you still want your contingencies with inspection and all of that so that you've got the actual true professional for that lane doing their role. And again, you're not going to talk anybody into this. They've got to, this is why you need to find the truly urgent true buyer right now. And you don't want to be wasting time just showing property for fun.
Yeah, that's why I do point out, I actually had the buyer who ended up buying the house. He goes, sounds like you don't want me to buy the house. I said, that's not at all. You just need to know, what's here. I mean, I'm not a salesman. We're not selling cars. I'm an advisor. So,
right.
If it's not this one, and I showed them 4 homes. Literally, they wrote offers on 3 of them, and she just kept apologizing because she was running me around. I'm like, honey, if I can get away with 4 homes with every client, that'd be a good day. So
I love it. Okay, so the thing is the showing could take 30 minutes, could take an hour. It depends on how serious it is. Now, okay, I saw the property once, and now I want to write an offer. how do you make that pivot? Do you just go home, get the offer ready, and then Zoom me? Or do you say, okay, let's look at the house again one more time? What does that look like typically for you? And again, this is for you. It might not be the same for everybody else.
I mean,
I'm just curious.
yesterday I was fortunate enough that they have a nephew who's local. So I met him at the house. You know, still it's not them visually, but having that. But the first one, I didn't meet him at the house, and they wrote an offer, and then, you know, they have an inspector. So
That's you made a really good point to kind of limit that liability that Kristen brought up of having someone they know or trust locally put eyes on it, and maybe even recording that showing as well. There's no harm in you protecting your butts in every way possible, especially if it's heard on the video that you're recording that, you know, here are some of the obvious things that if this was my house, I would have noticed. I want to make sure you saw them. And you know, if you're really that blatant about caring and being concerned, I don't think you have much, especially if you've recorded that. And then I think when you bring in the element of, is there anybody local that might be able to pop on by,
Right.
even if they're elderly and they're just afraid to come in, is there anybody that you want me to bring with me because this is a property that will allow it? You know, I think even emailing that you asked that and you recommended it, any way you can is smart. You
Yeah,
know,
get it in writing.
it's not going to hurt you.
Well, there was with this, I had a closing come up, and they did have somebody local for the final walkthrough, but they are terrified and literally on lockdown, and they will not leave their house. So I'm very clear. Listen, one way or another, you're signing a release of final walkthrough. Now, you can sign one that says you saw the house and you're okay without a final walkthrough, or you can sign one that says you didn't see the house and you're okay with the final walkthrough. Either way, and I am in their face pretty much with that, going, listen, you're signing one of two pieces of paper when this is all said and done before we close.
Right.
And it's going to say that you're good with the final walkthrough or you're good without a final walkthrough.
Well,
So,
I think, and I mean, Ginger probably can talk on this better with what she knows as our broker. I'm guessing that in the near future, there'll be some new addendum or something that just deals with all of this and liability and risk, because this is going to become more and more normal. And if you really think about what Gary Keller was predicting, what 5 years from now is going to look like, it just happened now, some of it. You know, people are eventually going to have virtual glasses where they'll be able to walk around the Matterport and feel like they actually went to the house. You know, there's a lot of things that are really there. And I guess that's a great pivot into Matterport, because Matterport is the technology that would actually drive all that. And Lou, you were smart enough to go ahead and get involved with Matterport. So tell us about Matterport, like what the heck is Matterport? And then tell us what you could do with it, if you don't mind.
So Matterport, if you guys don't know, it's the virtual walkthrough where you can literally have people clicking through the house, and I can probably share my screen. The shot behind me, my background, is a Matterport. It's a screenshot from a Matterport I took for my listing in St. Pete. So if I go to share my screen.
There we go. We can
you guys see that? So that's the kind of dollhouse effect.
It's kind of neat though, because you can see that, you can imagine like what the whole layout of the house is.
Right, and here's the this bullseye is the front door, and so I can go in and label all these things. Here's the exterior door. This is guest bedroom 1, and you can label all the rooms as well. Now, some of this black stuff you're seeing, that's just, I didn't stick the camera in the back corner of the bathtub, you know what I mean? So, but you get the idea of what's happening. And then you can walk them through it. You can do just what we're doing right here. So I can double click on the front door, and now I'm at the front door showing them the house. And I go, okay, here's bedroom 1, here's bedroom 2, the master's down this hallway. Here's the living room. And sometimes the lighting is a little bit off, but look at the difference now when you get closer.
Oh, wow.
So here's your living room. This house comes completely furnished. And then you can walk them through the house. Okay, so let's go towards the lanai. Oops, I grabbed the wrong. Here's the dining room. Here's your lanai, your beautiful view of the parking lot.
That's really cool, because the truth is, once you send this to me, I could review this 100 times with family, friends. I could
Yeah,
look
you're
at
just going to
every little
send them the
corner.
link and you can watch it. You know, they can watch it as much as they want, but you can literally walk them through the house. It's like you being there. Here's the other fantastic thing you can do is they can, or the agent can, pop up room measurements.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So that's really neat. Now I put these room measurements in, but you as the user, as your client or as your buyer, they can go ahead and measure things that they want. And it's accurate to within about an inch. I mean, it's
Wow.
super accurate. And
Well, and
so
I've seen agents do creative things to get action on their listings, where they made the investment of Matterport for a listing just so that it could be shown this easily,
right.
and as a value add. But then they did scavenger hunts, and they put it out to their whole database and said, play along with me, and $25 Home Depot gift card for someone that gives me the right answers. You know, where is the beach ball? What room was the beach ball in? What, you know, and you can actually do like a scavenger hunt with like 5 items that people have to go through the house and see. And what does it do for your seller? Your seller's just grateful for the views, right?
Yeah. So I just did that on Facebook.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
cool.
I had about 10 or 15 Facebook friends respond back. You know, a couple of them were realtors, but a lot of them were just past clients and such. They were loving it. I mean, what are people doing anyways? They're not doing anything right now anyways.
Ginger made a great comment. I want to just get my chat back up. Ginger, Jessica, please remind all agents final walkthroughs are not to be done by the agent. Lou is correct to make sure they sign the walkthrough and waiver both in version now of .loop. So you're on it.
You can also in Matterport put little tags for everything. So
okay, so like if it was a really cool Sub-Zero fridge or something, you could tag it, or
you can let them know, hey, this is a king size bed, just so you get, you know, you get the visual of really how big this room is.
Okay, so we've got questions like, does this require a special camera? This is a service, basically. This is a company, basically. And Lou, you're an owner of one of the locals, right?
So it requires a special camera, yes. And you have to, so Matterport's a service that once you take all these pictures with your special camera and you have a subscription to Matterport, you upload them, and then you have to do a lot of this, like all these dots you're seeing, all these images, upgraded electrical panel. Those are things that I do in you know, what you call post-production, right? So once I get this back, then I go back online and take all this. So
basically you're thinking like the listing agent or the homeowner of like every selling feature that you want to talk about.
yeah.
Like if behind the house was a nature preserve, you would even take, you know, anything that's a selling feature, you're going to tag.
And you can go outside. Matterport's not designed for you to go outside, but you can absolutely go out into the pool deck, take a few more pictures. So everywhere you see one of these little circles, I've taken a picture. So it takes me, you know, I mean, this is only about a 1,500 square foot condo. I think I took 65 pictures to create this Matterport, and then to get it back home and do all the post-production and upload it and all that stuff. I mean, it's a pretty detailed process.
Okay, so I don't want to do that. So how do I hire someone to do this?
Yeah, so since I have time on my hands, I'm actually providing this service if people want it. I'm doing it, I think, relatively cheaper than anybody heard anybody do it. I'm doing it for $10 a square foot and a $150 minimum. So even if it's just a 1,200 square foot house, you know, $150. And most of you know I don't like to even drive to sell a house, so the closer the better. I'm not going to go to Sarasota and do a 1,500 square foot condo. But I do work with some other photographers as well. You know, there's a few, you know, that will push it to each other and make sure it gets done for you. This isn't just for listing agents. The only issue with the buyer's agent is, you know, are you going to spend $150 to show somebody a home? Probably not.
Right.
But for me, since I'm doing it, you know, that's why I'm able to do it. So listing agents should definitely be doing this. And, you know, if there's some listings out there that have been sitting, say to them, hey, you know, why don't you do a Matterport? Why don't you do a 3D tour? Because I sent this out to everyone. Like you said, Jess, I said, hey, let's do a what do you call it? Scavenger hunt. I didn't know any of this stuff was in the house. I had to go through the house and find it. So if you just do these for some of your listings, you could absolutely turn this into a game and people don't even know they're being marketed to.
Well, and that's the thing is you're also showing off to the level of service that you provide for a listing. And this is, I'm gonna say something bold that within a year, this will be expected if you do a listing.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to compete without this, because I don't know. I hope we do, but I don't know that we ever go back to real, like what we consider normal. You know, I don't know. I hope we do, but even
I don't think this is going to go back to normal, because here's the thing is just think how much time you save not waiting for a buyer to show up at a property because they're running 15 minutes late because they couldn't find it and you just started showing with them and they're not even ready to write and blah, blah, blah. I mean, just think about 80% of the showings you go on, you know, aren't going to be an offer. Yet you're doing what you need to do to stay in relationship with people and make sure that they know you're working for them. There's a lot of inefficiencies with that. I'm going to just say with even like coaching, you know how much more efficient I am with coaching because people aren't like late to the appointment and I'm able to, you know, one after another. I can do twice as many appointments and help twice as many people. Same thing for you guys. So this is cool. So Lou, if someone's got Pinellas County, 150 minimum, $10 a square, what do they do to ask you to help them if they want to, and how what's the turnaround time kind of like?
I mean, I'm extremely busy right now. I have nothing to do for the next 2 weeks, so the turnaround time is pretty quick. Yeah, just give me a call. Most of you guys should have my number. If not, it's
I'm chatting it. 727?
Okay, yeah. 727-698-2996. And even if you just want some ideas, or, I mean, you know, seriously, we're all just kind of sitting around, hopefully helping each other. And I'm not as busy as I used to be, but I do have 3 pending, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That's really good. Kathy asked a good question. What is the startup cost for Matterport for you to invest in it? How much did it cost you? The special camera is the big cost, right?
Well, actually what keeps photographers from doing it is the monthly fees that Matterport charge you. So, yeah. So, I mean,
so if you're not going to go, if you're not doing this pretty regularly, you're not just going to go buy a camera to do this. Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to, it's not only that, it's the time it takes you and what's you're invested in. You know, some of the Matterport cameras are, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Right.
And then even then, so I know a couple of professional photographers that have Matterport, and I, you know, asked them, I said, hey, you know, what are you doing? He said, I'm not doing it anymore. It's just, it doesn't make sense because of the monthly fee from Matterport. So they have lower fees that you can do, you know, 2 or 3 of them or whatever. But then what's the point if you're going to do 2 or 3 and you're going to spend, even if you get a lower end camera with all the stuff and you're in for $700? I mean,
here's an idea. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but what if we talked Nikki into buying one for the office and we had a couple photographers are willing to do it? We could maybe save some money. I don't know. We got to think big and long term because I think this is the new norm.
Well, so that's the thing again, Jess, right? If you're doing pictures, are you a realtor or are you a photographer? I'm doing this.
No, I think you need a professional, and you're really good at it though, but you're also you're really good at this stuff. You love tech. You love making the videos and stuff. We're like nerds.
Yeah. And I enjoy this. And yeah. I've been paying the monthly fee to Matterport anyways, just because, listen, the first couple of things I did was part of my, you know, I did my office at work. I did, you know, set my garage. Oh, okay. Here's my car.
Hey, I'm hiring you when we can go back to the office. I want to do a virtual office tour because we have all these agents joining us right now, you guys. It's so bizarre. And they've never been to our office. And they're like, what is the office like? I'm like, we'll show it to you later.
No, let's do it now when nobody's in it. I don't want to be in there when everybody's grabbing everything.
Good point. You know, so here's the thing is I think that for those of you that are going to focus on listings, this is something you should do just to make it super easy. for you to basically be able to have your property shown even to a novice or agent that would be afraid to get into a property, because they can just do with that. Now let me ask you this, Lou, if you sent me the link, is there any explanation on how to show it, or do agents need to be trained?
There's really not, Jess, but it's super straightforward. There's only a couple of buttons down at the bottom of the screen. If they would, but you'll find most people won't click on it. Most people will just walk around. So you kind of do have to go, hey, down at the bottom, if you click on the ruler, or if you click on the floor plan view or the dollhouse view, but it's literally, there's only 2 or 3 buttons they can click on. So.
Right. So Daniel Brzezinski asks a great question. What else are you putting into the home to have that show up in the Matterport shots, like logos or virtual furniture or anything?
Yeah, so you really can't virtually stage the Matterport because that's part of what happens with the subscriptions. So when you're taking the pictures, they're literally uploading while you're taking them. And it takes a ton of phone power and energy. So I have backup batteries with me and all that stuff. So yeah, it's you
You're not
really
able
can't
to do
virtually
that.
stage it.
Got it. Great question. What other questions do you guys have about either the virtual consult showing or Matterport? Anybody have any questions you want to unmute yourself and ask? I've tried to keep up with the questions, and I think some of these you asked and answered to each other. Is there any other questions on this?
A good point, just in addition to that, Jess, some homes, and I've said this even before I started doing any of this stuff, some homes are just not Matterportable. I mean, seriously, I mean, if I'm going to use a fake example because I have a real one, but if they just will not clean up their house and they've got litter boxes everywhere, and I mean, you're just not going to use Matterport for a little while.
You don't want to show off, like you wouldn't put a little thing. This is Fluffy's litter box.
Yeah, I know.
And this is
the problem. Here's part of the problem. Initially, I was doing some higher end homes as well. I was not doing Matterport for those high end homes because it could, back then, I don't think anymore. I think that's gone away now, but it could have reduced showings in a weird way because people felt like, oh, I've already seen it. No, I'm not going to go in there. There's still no substitute for physically standing there.
Right.
So
here's one thing I'm just going to bring up from a liability standpoint. You also want to coach the seller to remove anything personal. Like if they have their whole family photos on the wall and they want to be private about who they are or who's in their family, or if they have valuables, you may not want to be advertising that stuff. So you want to be thoughtful of that and just be smart about it. Just bring that up to people, because let's just be honest, if you're walking through and you see tons of expensive, like a gun cabinet full of guns, or precious heirloom Tiffany lamps and their family photos, they may not want to be that exposed. And that's also a great way for them to depersonalize the house and to get that out. So that would be something I just bring up, because the only thing this reminds me of that makes me a little nervous, and I'm sure Ginger, if you're listening, you're thinking the same I am. I remember when Facebook Live came out the first time, and one of my top agents in Madison thought she was so clever when she was Facebook Living the house, and it happened to be like a judge or someone in our town, and she even showed, like, here's the family, and wow, did that cause trouble. Not only was it kind of a breach of confidence with the seller, but it really was just not good. And she didn't think she was doing anything wrong. She just wasn't aware. So just be aware of, if you're putting this out there, yeah, you might have a few less showings, but this is the new norm because people can't get in to see. And so this is resolving a problem. And yet don't forget about the obvious things that you want to be smart about. Cool. Well, I hope you guys learned a lot. Any other questions? Okay, well, I think I learned a lot, and I think this is partly our new norm. So don't forget that you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. This has been recorded, so I'll put it on Facebook. So if anyone wants to share it or use it, you can, or revisit any part of it. Lou's contact information's in there. If you're looking for, someone to do it in Pinellas County for $10 a square. The only things I want to remind you is every day at 8:30 in the morning, if you need a boost, join me at 8:30 a.m. for Morning Mojo. We have a special guest tomorrow. And you can do that by going to jessicafoxcoaching.com. Next week, Thursday, I'm doing a town hall style meeting. Corona, COVID, whatever you want to call it, now what? Like, how do you get back into business? Like, how do you start getting back to a new norm? We're going to put a plan together and share some cool ideas. And we have right after this, I believe, for any of you that are interested in learning more about what's happening on the mortgage end, we have Brian P. Forrester and Brian Level from Van Dyke to kind of share really what's new and what's new this week, because that's really what it's all about. So if you would love to join them, they're on next. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And most important, stay safe. And yet you got to evolve, because we're in this together. So thank you, Lou, for being my guest. I learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
Hats off to you too. Okay,
right.
bye guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye guys.